Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Bufnagle the podcast, where we explore entertaining and enlightening discussions of the adventure of life and all things good. From science and technology to history and philosophy to leadership and success. We hope to give you a better understanding of the world and skills for everyone to pursue their own adventure.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Bufnagle the podcast, where we talk about all things good in the pursuit of the adventure of life. I'm Rafe, and I'm joined today by Harry for a great show. Harry, how are you doing tonight?
Rafe, I'm doing great. I'm excited for round 2 of the podcast because listeners, they get the edited version, the nice, crisp, pristine version that is not the minute long that we had before we somehow disappeared. But I'm back again a second time. You're back again a second time, so we're ready.
Yeah, so this is take 2, actually, of this intro. The first one is lost to the bowels of the internet. It disappeared into the ether, as they say. Before we get going, hey, thanks to the listeners. You guys know we appreciate you more than we can say. So contact us at bufnagle@bufnagle.com if there's something you need to tell us. Otherwise, just keep on listening. Share the buff with your friends. Share the love, share the buff. And if you are new to the podcast, welcome. We're glad you're here. Listen to a bunch of episodes and then tell us what you want to hear. And remember, tell a friend to listen and you'll get a free episode. And subscribe and hit that little 5-star, smiley star, banana pudding, whatever that is, whatever the like thing is on your podcast deal, especially on Apple Podcasts. That helps us a whole lot. Harry, today's story, today's podcast.
Story, yeah.
I started saying story. Today's little story is our podcast starts with a story, and I sent you a link earlier today of a song, 3.5 minutes, a song by a folk singer lady by name of Christine Lavin. Some people may know her, some people may not. I think she's a little bit obscure, but if you know, like modern, what would I call it? It's probably folk music. She does folk music, and a song of hers that I have come to, that is very dear to me, I guess, is a song of hers called Yonder Blue. And I think it's from the album The Shopping Cart of Love. Or maybe that's one of the songs on the album. And that's Harry, I promised I would tell you how I got to this song. Okay. And one day, way back, a long time ago, probably about 1990, maybe a little bit before that, I was driving to my office in graduate school in Fort Collins, Colorado. And this song came on the radio, one of these obscure stations that plays like songs that nobody listens to, those kinds of, like you find in college towns, right? Those kinds of, yep. And so I was listening to this song, and it was this very long, drawn out story song of pretty much just guitar in the background and kind of talking and singing the way through this. And it was a very funny song. And I think it might've been the Shopping Cart of Love is the name of the song. And I think it's like 12 minutes long. It's a very long song. And my tradition,
trip to the grocery store.
Yeah, it is, once you're done with this one, you're going to go listen to the Shopping Cart of Love. And it is a very, very good story. And so, my general premise is when I am listening to a song on the radio, it requires, there must be like a tsunami coming in, or I'm late for a flight if I will turn off the car. I turn the key off, right? But this radio keeps going.
Yep.
And I won't open the door until the current song is done. That's generally the principle I have, is to wait for a nice break at the end of the song. And this song kept going and going and going and going. And it was this great story. It's this wonderful story by Christine Lavin about, well, it's the Shopping Cart of Love. I'll leave it at that, because that's not the song we're talking about today. So I listened to this thing on the radio. I was like, wow, that was just a great song. It's a wonderful story, and it was told very well. It was very funny and musical and all sorts of wonderful things. And I listened all the way to the end, and they said that was Christine Lavin with the Shopping Cart of Love. And so immediately what I would do, kind of like I do now, is I would get that album. I mean, if I find a song that I really like, I find the album that it's on, and then I use that to expand my
Your pool of music.
My pool of music, my library of music. And there's a number of songs on that album. Actually, the album is called Attainable Love, is what it's called. And the Shopping Cart of Love is one of the tracks on that song, on that album. So I would learn all these songs, and there's a number of really good songs on there. There's some songs on there that are they're so, just like any album, right? And there's a song on there called Yonder Blue. All right. And this is the song I sent to you. And we're not going to play that song because there's all sorts of copyright things. But I will encourage you to, this is a great song. And I will encourage you to go listen to it because it's just a good song. And it goes like this. I see on the news it's raining in London, 46 degrees. I hope you packed your raincoat, darling, a scarf to protect you from the chilly breeze. I'm looking at the balmy Pacific, a kick line of palm trees. You're in London. It's raining, 46 degrees. I read in the paper. It's foggy in Paris. The forecast is scattered showers. I picture you standing in a light drizzle at the base of the Eiffel Tower. I am due to arrive in Vancouver in about a couple of hours. You're in Paris. It's foggy, expecting scattered showers. Half a world away are we. I worry about you constantly. Are you dry? Are you warm? Are you safe from the storm? Are you taking your vitamins regularly? I would trade all I've got to be with you. That's something you have not asked me to do. So I travel around. I've barely touched down when you call from yonder blue. The pilot says it's warm and sunny in New York. Skies are crystal clear. I'm descending from the west. You're descending from the east. Please let this be our year. I can't wait to see your face, to hold your sweet body near. Oh, it's warm and it's sunny in New York City. Skies are crystal clear. The future looks rosy. Let's get cozy. Hey, stranger, over here. That's the song.
It's very simple. Yeah.
It's very simple. And it's, to me, it paints, it does all the great things that great songwriters do, which is tell a story in really small numbers of words. They paint pictures and they describe this situation of this lady who is longing to be with this guy who is half a world away, and he's doing his thing. And she says, I want to be with you, but you haven't asked me to do that. And I really would like you to do that. Yeah, I don't want to invade that. And you're going to London, and I can see what's happening. And you're in Paris, and I try to picture you there, and I can't be with you, but I really want to be with you. And then, at the end, they're getting together in New York. He's coming over from Europe, and she's coming in from the West. And she really, really wants to be with him. And it's warm and sunny in New York, and the skies are crystal clear. And if you read the liner notes, right, back in the old days, they would have like the record would be in the jacket, and then you pull it out, and there'd be like stuff printed on the inside. So
the lyrics, the name, the title, who wrote the song, all those kinds of things.
And other things. And she had notes about a lot of these songs. And she said she wrote this song that if you really want to get the picture of this song, how you're supposed to listen to it with like a treadmill going in the workout gym at a hotel where the Weather Channel is playing on the TV above your head.
Okay, specific.
Well, but it's real important that you do that, because the perspective is, I'm in a place where I'm not really comfortable. This isn't really me. I'm traveling around. You're traveling around. Neither of us is settled. And back in the day, in the mid 80s, early 90s kind of time frame, when this was written, that was the connection you had with the rest of the world. You would, I know I would do that. I'd go out on trips, and your mom would say, "Oh, I saw on. I checked the paper today. It's supposed to be snowing there." Or you're in Philly, and I'm here in Raleigh. What's going on there? And the weather was the thing that would always connect people, right? And and CNN and Weather Channel used to have that. I guess they call it a chyron, where that
scrolls at the bottom.
Scrolls at the bottom, and they would always do that. Here's the weather in Albuquerque, and here's the weather in Boston, here's the weather in Chicago, and it would scroll by. And she wrote that song in that context, that she's at the gym working out, hitting the treadmill, and she sees that it's raining in Paris, and raining in London is 46 degrees. So she sees that, and she pictures him in that space, and that was the world that we lived in. And every now and then you would just get a phone call. If you were lucky, you got a phone call. But that was how these long distance things were. So what I want to do is I want to go on the basis of that song, and I'm going to encourage you to go to YouTube, all of you guys out there, and listen to Miss Lavin's song. You can go to YouTube. It's Christine Christine, Lavin, Lavin, and it's called Yonder Blue. And if you want to, if you have a little bit more time on your hands, you can listen to The Shopping Cart of Love. It's a very funny one, and she's a great folk singer, and she's older now. It's interesting. I see pictures of her back from the '80s, and she looks like a folk singer, and I see pictures of her now, and she looks like
just slightly older.
Just a slightly, yeah. Well, you know, it's amazing here. I go to these reunions and stuff, and everybody gets older but me. It's
that's right.
It's a strange
These
thing.
are people I graduated with.
I know. How could that be? How could they be getting older? Certainly, I am not. So, what about, like, you've had time apart?
Yeah. Well, you know, I'm going to start with the idea of 2/3 of the way through the song, right?
Yep.
Or maybe halfway through. It's like, you know, you haven't called me yet. You haven't invited me or asked me to come with you. So I'm still doing whatever. And when I first met Jamie, I was living in Seattle. She was living in Wilmington, North Carolina. And, you know, we matched off the internet and started talking. But she was, in her words, rather smitten and literally waiting for me to invite her to come meet up.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, wait. So make sure I got this right. Yeah. So you're in Seattle. Actually, you're in Tacoma, right?
Right. Yeah.
All right. And you get this opportunity to try out, to apply, to go to Fort Bragg, essentially, and join special
operations stuff.
Yeah. So you do the tryout, and you get through the tryout, and you know, they give you the thumbs up, and they invite you to do that. And so you're planning to leave Tacoma, but you haven't yet. And you start doing.
I start hitting up prospects in in their greater North Carolina region. So I run across Jamie, and because she is, I'm imagining her in this situation, right? She is sitting in Wilmington, texting me or talking to me, and looking at the weather, and she's up 3 hours before I am,
right?
You know, just waiting to hear from me, hopefully. And what she's really waiting for, she's waiting for me to call her up and say, "Hey, come out and visit."
Oh, really? She was actually waiting for that.
She really was. So that's kind of how I put the woman in this song.
I've tried all I've got to be with you, but that's something you have not asked me to do. So I travel around. I barely touch down when you call from yonder blue. That's a great lyric.
Of course, I didn't call yonder blue. We were in constant communication.
Yeah, right.
It's a similar situation.
But you did then, right?
I did.
You did, yep. and the rest is history, as they say. And so go ahead.
I've spent further time apart from her, right? Deployments or training exercises for anywhere between 2 days and 180.
So you were gone over half of 2022.
That's correct.
On deployment.
Yeah.
Quite literally half a world away.
That's right. In Europe.
So okay, so let's ground that. So in January of 2022, you and all your little special op buddies, you hop in an airplane and you go. Where did you start out with that?
We flew to Germany.
All right, and you just hang out in Germany for a while, or did you
Yeah, I hung out in Germany for a while. Then we eventually moved to Albania. We were there for a couple months, and then we had some other things come up. Some people had to go back to the States, so I filled in for a couple of other people in Kosovo. So I was kind of all over the place.
And you ended up in Alexander the Great land for a while, right? In Macedonia.
I'm sure I got some pictures with Alexander the Great. Big statues of him.
Well, he was great. I mean, he was
great.
So
great. He's got to have a great statue.
Yeah. So all right. But you didn't have that situation where all you got was a phone call, right? Every now and then you were in nearly constant communication.
Yeah. Well, Wi-Fi is an incredible invention.
Yeah.
Right. You can basically take your phone, turn it into a small computer, and talk to people.
And you would, so you guys chatted often, right? In the morning when you got up, it was nighttime here. How was the time? How did the time work?
5 or 6 hour time difference.
Okay, so that's not bad.
Right. So by the time I was eating lunch or so, she was waking up.
Okay.
And then when I was off of work, right, spending time in the evening, free time in the evening, she was having lunch.
All right. So you got to have uh, lunch with her while you were prepping to go to bed,
Yeah,
and
pretty much.
all right. And so, did you do any letters and stuff, or was everything voice, or how'd that work?
Everything for us was, well, okay, kind of. So everything for us was, I'll say, digital.
Okay.
Right. So we actually wrote daily letters to each other
Oh,
on
really?
a
Okay.
Google document that we would fill in. So we've got 300 something pages of one from me, one from her, back and forth every single day, stored on the internet for us.
Well, that's kind of cool. So it's a log at that point. I
It
mean,
is a
it,
log, right?
yeah,
And
that's great.
that's something I've been doing since my time at West Point with you.
Right. So when you were there, if I remember this correctly, okay. So when you go to West Point, you start in like in early June, right? That's
Yeah.
right.
Or late June. Yeah.
Was it late June?
It was
Yeah.
late
Okay.
June.
Yeah. Late June, and you are out of contact. You are incommunicado for what six was essentially 6 weeks,
6 weeks.
other than the good old fashioned letter with a stamp on it.
That's right. They give you stationery and stamps and say, "Hey, write a letter to your parents saying you're alive."
Yeah. Well, it is, and it was a I don't want to say it's a traumatic thing for us, but it's difficult to just hand somebody off into a world where not only do you like a lot of West Point guys were West Point. The parents were alumni, right? I mean, there was a
Sure.
lot of second generation, third generation kind of thing going on there. But we are not. Your parents are not Army people. I have no knowledge of what you were going through other than you wore a lot of camo and green, right? That sort of thing. And I just remember, I remember thinking, I know they're going to wake him up. Like the first day we dropped you off, you go to the big room and they say, "Oh, thank you for giving us your son or daughter for the next 4 years. You have 90 seconds to say goodbye." And that was it. And then by that time you were like, I remember you were like, "I want to get out this door so I'm not the last one in line." Remember that's pretty.
It was that combined with, if I stay too long, I'm not going to want to go.
Yeah, yeah, and then what? Of course, and so they run you out the doors at the bottom of the stage, and the parents all exit through the gift shop. That's where we went, and we had to buy souvenirs and stuff. And then we were like, well, I guess we better go home. Or no, we stayed around because you guys do things like you get your hair cut and you get boots.
Yeah,
And
and at the end of the day, there's a little parade,
there's a little
right?
parade, and
And then you
and
say
it,
goodbye.
well, and it's interesting because like even that there's a little parade. Those of you who are not military or not West Pointers, they don't like. I imagine it was like a parade, like at my little hometown where I grew up. Is that you guys would all come marching by and we'd wave and you would wave and that would be that. It's not like it's not like Brock at Navy, or no. But you all come marching out of the barracks in these big rows and columns, and you stand there and you take an oath, and they play the song, and
It's a
on you
big
go.
formation, basically.
Yeah, gigantic formation. And then we got in the car and we drove, I don't know, until dark. After dark, it was midsummer, so the sun was up pretty late. And we drove into Pennsylvania somewhere, spent the night, and drove the rest of the way to Nashville the next day. And I just remember thinking, when I went to bed that night, I remember trying to imagine. Okay, so I imagined exactly what's happening in this song. All right, are you dry? Are you warm? Are you safe from the storm? That's what I would imagine for you. Was like, is he lying? Is he exhausted and asleep? Is he sitting there saying, I know that I'm going to have about 45 seconds when the horn sounds tomorrow morning to get my shoes on, to brush my teeth and go to the bathroom? Is that like, what was like, because that's what would be going through my head, because that's what I do now. I know the next day I have a lot of things to do. I make sure I know where my keys are. I make sure my shoes are ready. They're lined up, ready for me to put my feet in. I know where, like, I structure everything so that I don't have to make any decisions on the fly there. And it just kind of, it was a lot of angst about how is it going? You don't want, I
Well,
want to make,
and you don't even have that phone call out of the blue, or you have a
right.
letter.
Yeah. So we would wait for letters. And I remember I did write a letter pretty much every day during
Mm-hmm.
that 6 weeks. Cause I'd get to the office early and I'd crank out a letter, or I'd crank one out at lunch or something like that. And I have a type them because I'm not a very good hand writer. I get just, my wrist gets sore from all that
Yeah.
scribbling, and then none of that, but you can't read it then. Right. So, but we would send those on, and that was this lyric and this statement that I worry about you constantly, and it and I know that worry is wasted energy. I know that because it wouldn't matter what I was thinking, but it was a constant, like, not really a fear, but it was just wondering what it's like. And I can imagine what it must be like for those guys who, like Magellan's family, or the families of all those guys. And we did the Magellan thing, well over a year ago. Or any of those explorer guys, what it was like for their families when these guys went out over the horizon, and you had no idea if they were gobbled up by, here there be sea monsters, or if
Sure,
they.
you think that you get word that your husband's dead, but he's only been captured, and then he comes back 10 years later, and you're like, "Oh, sorry, this is my 6-year-old son with husband."
But have you ever seen the movie Castaway? Have you seen the movie Castaway with Tom Hanks?
I don't think I've ever seen it in full, but yes.
Well, yeah, that's what happens. He gets stuck there, and his wife moves on. In fact, it's interesting because they were from Memphis in the show, and that was right before the Titans, lost that championship game, or lost the Super Bowl just a yard
By a
short at
yard,
the end.
yep.
Yeah, and in the story, she tells him the story of what happened in the movie, and she tells him, "Oh, so we were so close," but he's just trying to catch back up, and she can't, and she worried, and finally she had to move on, and she ended up, I forget who she, in the movie, she either marries the lawyer or the guy, the accountant, or somebody who was close to their family. She ends up marrying him, and he's just kind of stuck. But it's that constant, and worry is kind of I wonder about.
But if you didn't worry, it's probably better to worry than to not.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you don't worry, it means that you don't care.
Yeah, and but I'm trying to think if it's not like a worry. Like I wouldn't sit there and think, oh, I wonder if he got, blown up by a tank. That wasn't the kind of worry. The worry was like, I just hope it's going well, and I have no way to measure. Okay, is it going well for you? I would like to just see from a distance. Yes, it's going well. That's all I would like to know. And so when the letters would come, we would read them and parse every word. What is he saying about this? What is he saying about that? And there were some times that were tough for you during that time. I mean, you guys lost a new cadet during that time period, and there were some things that were really, really hard. But in the end, I have to say, when we saw you 6 weeks later, it was like you had grown 3 inches. It was really remarkable to see that transformation. And I think sometimes that transformation comes when you don't have that direct contact. Like if you see somebody every day, you're not going to notice that sort of thing. And there are times like if I'm away on business on stuff like that, if I'd be gone a week. I was gone a week last year, and just last month, your mother was down there seeing you guys when your dishwasher blew up and you guys needed babysitting help and all that stuff. She was gone for like 3 weeks, and I think, Harry, that was the longest time we've been apart in the last 30 years.
No, that's not true.
When was I gone for more than a month or 3 weeks? I've never.
When she was gone was when she spent a month with Jamie before I came back from deployment.
Yeah, but I went down there, I thought, didn't it? But anyway, but we still have that, right? But we still have that communication. We have daily phone calls, and now we got phone calls and this interweb thing to look and show pictures and stuff like that. And I'm just like, it's a different world now. But do you so you guys kept that log? You and Jamie kept that log where you were deployed. You say you have 300 pages?
Yeah, we have broken up by month with one entry for each of us per day.
Yeah. So, and that is a remarkable thing, because when you look back on, all the old historical stuff, they say, well, here's a pile of letters that your great grandmother got from your great grandfather when they were courting or something like that. And it's wonderful to read those sorts of things. And I have to imagine that those will be great to read, not only for you guys, but especially for your kids and for your grandkids. That will be a wonderful thing. So do you think, let me ask you this then,
yeah.
Would you rather have the ability to have daily phone calls and no record written down, no strict record, or no daily phone calls, but you still get letters every day and then you get a record? Would you
If
take
I
the?
know I can guarantee letters every single day, I think I choose the letters. Because the phone calls are great, and especially now, right? We have like things like FaceTime, where you can kind of see each other and see what's going on, and you feel like you're involved and in the room, but you're still separated.
You know you're still separated, and not only that, but sometimes it's not the right time to talk, right? So I've had situations where there's things we need to talk about, but I can tell something's going on the other side, and there's not a complete focus of attention on the situation,
Yep.
or somebody's exhausted because they just got done dealing with a screaming kid for an hour or something like that, and then you're like, well, there was my phone call and it got wasted. So then you leave, or something didn't
Or
go
you
well on the
want to
phone call.
say something, right? Or you're constantly interrupted, or maybe the story takes too long, or you don't want to, you want to say it a certain way, but you can't.
So the letter then gives you a real opportunity to slow down. Just like if we were to write this show, okay, this is a real conversation. We didn't. This is one of those ones I said, Harry, this is what we're going to do, and we're going to go for it. And he said, okay. So he didn't really know where this was going, but if we wanted we could have scripted this, and we could have each spent a couple hours writing out these things and making them mesh together. But what happens is when we're talking in real time, you don't have that opportunity to really hone the words and decide what's in and decide what's out. Everything makes it in. So I think I got to take the letters.
Yeah, I think I'd agree. And actually, so while you were talking there, I pulled up, I pulled up our letters, right?
Oh yeah, okay.
And there's some funny stuff in here, mostly because I've talked about it before here on the podcast of my journey back, how I was supposed to leave on a certain day and it kept getting delayed by like 1 or 2 days or a week or something.
Yeah.
But in here, there's things like I would always write, or Jamie would always write, day X out of 178.
Yeah.
And then here,
so eventually it was like day 182 out of 178,
right? Day 188 out of 178, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's things like, Scotty demanded that I take the sticker off the diaper package today, and when it left residue on the packaging, she yelled at me. Right, so like it's very simple. It keeps up. There's things like we let her hold a toothbrush while I brushed her teeth with a different toothbrush, so she was quieter while we were brushing her teeth. She'll kind of walk me through her day and then end with something like, I'm glad I got to see you, like when you got up and ready for your flight. I hope it all goes smooth and you'll be back here, tomorrow. And then, that was when I got delayed 2 days in London. And then she goes, I got your last text, so this is then 2 days later. I didn't want to risk waking you guys up, because I had to leave super early in the morning. There's a 5 or 6 hour time difference.
Yep.
If she texts me, she's like waking me up too early or whatever. I'll be checking your flight the second I wake up. Can't wait to fall asleep next to you.
All right.
So it's one of those things, like I can go back and read this. I can think, oh, this is what happened that day. Or
isn't it amazing when you go back and read that? Because I've read the letters that I have the copies of the letters I sent to you
and I have the copies that I sent to you.
Right. So we have this collection now, and if I go back and read them, I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot that happened. Or, oh, so that's what that was, so there's so much memory jogging that does, that had we had a phone call every day, unless we would have taken notes. Who takes notes in phone calls? And then there's, but that's a what? Yeah. Sometimes you don't even want to take notes in business meetings because everything you write down becomes a legal document. So it's anyway, I don't know. It's an interesting thing, and this is a great song, and I think it hits a lot of those. For me, it sounds very nostalgic, and it's a very pretty song. A little bit of guitar and a little bit of, orchestral stuff in the background, and it paints such a great picture with foreign cities and travel, but those are like I said, my life is a series of. My life is a series of GIFs. Like I communicate with GIFs on the text message machine all the time because that's how I see the world, and it's like commercial catchphrases, lines from songs and poems, quotes from movies. That's what's constantly. Anytime something happens to me, something like that pops up. So if there were like a little screen above my head, it would be showing GIFs and little movie quotes and TV show
Wow,
stuff.
you are. How are
Oh,
you productive in your job?
It takes every it takes every bit of strength of my being to not constantly be dropping little quips and catchphrases from things that are in there. And this song shows up a lot. If I was out taking a walk the other day and the rain came and I called your mom that I was that I walked to the new house and the rain came and I got to the house before the rain came and I was calling her to have her pick me up because it was still raining. And she said, "Are you dry?" And I said, "Are you warm? Are you safe from the storm? Are you taking your vitamins regularly?" And that just like that, those things come out all the time. And I think I think having the letters is a great thing. Having letters is a great thing. And
I think it's almost necessary, especially in this day and age. And I would hate to I would hate to lose the memories that we have on a regular basis to this idea of, oh, let me just text information or let me just call real fast. The idea of this instant communication means that we lose our memory, we lose our ability to plan or set things up or that type of thing. Sure, we can go back into text messages, but if you've been texting the same person for 10 years,
yeah, you're not finding that. You're not finding that.
I mean, good luck unless you actually have the database, right?
Right. And can you get the database? Well, if you're at the FBI, I'm sure you could. But,
Sure.
Right. But this, and that's okay. So that's the thing, though. Okay, is you get what you pay for, and it is difficult to write the letter. It's difficult to take the notes. It's difficult to record. I don't know how many people make diaries. I certainly don't. I probably should. But you have a real treasure in that log of conversations over the course of 6 months while you were gone. And I'm sure as you read that, you actually extract more out of the words than we would reading it from a distance, because you actually those words actually spark memories in you and feelings that none of us would know what they are. You'd be like, right. Oh, I remember when I wrote this. I remember as I was writing this, the fire alarm went off, and I didn't even bother putting that in here, or something like that. Right? So that's a real treasure trove, and it took effort. It took effort, but then you get something at the backside. So you get out what you put in, and that goes for communication and for long distance travel. So,
no, I think that's great. I think I want to bring it back to you just real fast. Would you rather have the phone calls? You grew up without the instant communication.
Yeah, I've become lazy on this. All right. And it's a lot easier for me to send I don't even bother hitting the shift key when I send text messages. Everything's in lowercase just because I just can't. At my age, I can't afford the time. So I like, I think I would love to have the letters I would love to have the memory. I'd love to have something more tangible for the memory. I would love to have that. And now I have, I have memories like, remember when we did this, remember we talked about that. And that's not the same. It's not the same. If you really want to spur the memory, you got to write it down. And I guess there's probably a balance there. But I think I'm too far on the talking side. I just am.
There's a quote by one of our great journalists of "Memories make us rich."
I know that journalist, and you are exactly right. And he's talking about just football memories. All right, but even that, Harry, is all of those great football memories that I have are generally video pictures. Like I remember, like I see. Like I remember I was at Lambeau Field when Favre hit Freeman in overtime to hit the Vikings in the rain. I remember I was there. But now I've seen that video so many times, and I've seen it. Actually, I was on the other side of the stadium from where that camera angle was. but I remember, but that spurs that memory. I know who I was with, and I remember what the weather was like, and I remember the game situation and how we flew up from North Carolina to Milwaukee, and we stayed at the guy's house. And it was just it was a great thing, and that memory makes us rich. And I have that memory in my head, but the video makes it even richer. But anything you can do to preserve the memory is a great thing, and pass on those things to your kids, because if they lose the memory of what we are, then they got nothing, and that's why we keep them around. So
I think that's important. Yeah, I think we've also got to keep in mind where our loved ones are. Maybe keep a mental track of where they are. I know you check our weather every single day
yep.
on your phone, making sure we're safe and dry and warm. I'm not sure if I'm taking my vitamins regularly, but I'm working on it.
That's the thing. As a parent, it never stops. There's a great line from the movie Parenthood with Steve Martin and whoever else was in it. It was in Parenthood, and there's a Jason Robards is the grandpa, and one of the boys is a ne'er do well. He's not a good guy, and he says that the worrying never stops. It never stops. It never does, and but I wouldn't want to not worry, because then I would be like, holy cow, I've completely lost touch, and that would scare me even more. So I'll leave it at that. Just keep in contact. Make sure you know where your loved ones are. Make sure you keep them dry, warm, safe from the storm, and take your vitamins regularly. And remember to seek the good, be the good, and spread the good, and enjoy the adventure of life.